Close your eyes now. Find a position of absolute stillness. Let your spine be your anchor, reaching toward the heavens, while your breath connects you to the earth. Inhale deeply. Feel the oxygen filling your lungs like a divine gift. Exhale slowly, letting the weight of 2026 dissolve into the mist of time. We are traveling back 27 centuries to the year 740 BC. Imagine the atmosphere of Jerusalem. Feel the dry, golden heat of the Judean sun on your skin. Smell the dust of the streets, mixed with the scent of roasted meat and the sharp aroma of hyssop. Isaiah, the prophet who fearlessly exposed the transgressions of the people, collapses. Imagine him falling to the ground. Feel the texture of the rough stone against his palms. He is a man who was once the pillar of strength, a man who confronted monarchs and challenged an entire civilization. Breathe in his courage. Feel it expanding in your chest. Breathe out his exhaustion. Feel the heaviness in his limbs as he realizes that human strength has reached its limit. His voice was once a trumpet of fire, his mission absolute. Yet in this moment of collapse, something deep within, a hidden chamber of his soul, is being prepared for a revelation. How can a man chosen by God, utilized to correct others, be shattered by the very holiness he proclaimed? As you inhale, ask yourself, where in my life have I been trying to lead without first being broken? Today, you will not just listen to a story. You will become the message. You will feel the weight of Isaiah's household. Isaiah, son of Amoz, was raised during Judah's most delicate transition. His name signified, "The Lord is salvation." Let that name vibrate in your mind. Yeshayahu, breathe in the salvation. Exhale the need for self-preservation. This truth was the central axis of his existence. He lived in an era defined by spiritual instability, where religion was a mask. Imagine the temple, huge, majestic, and cold. Feel the chill of the marble floors beneath your feet. People are singing, hands are raised, but the spirit is a hollow echo. Isaiah was not just an ordinary man among the crowd. He carried the terrifying responsibility of hearing the divine voice. Imagine a sound that is not a sound, but a vibration in the marrow of your bones. He did not speak out of opinion. He spoke because he was summoned. This calling was not light. It was a summons that would wound many hearts before healing them. Inhale the gravity of this call. Exhale the fear of being seen for who you truly are. His family life was also a part of this mission. Isaiah was married to a woman whom the scripture calls the prophetess. Imagine her presence beside him, quiet, powerful, a participant in a grander purpose. The Bible hides her name, and in this meditation, we honor that silence. Feel the strength of a marriage built not on comfort, but on a shared burden. They had 2 sons. Every time Isaiah called their names, he was shouting a prophecy into the air. Shir Jashub, a remnant shall return. Maher Shalal Hashbaz, quick to the plunder, swift to the prey. Imagine these children playing in the courtyard. Feel the paradox. The laughter of a child mixed with the warning of an approaching storm. One morning, Isaiah calls his son. Feel the seriousness in his voice. "Father, why is my name so strange?" the boy asks. Isaiah looks at his son, and in this moment, feel the father's heart breaking for his child's future. Because God will yet show that not everything is lost, he replies. Breathe in that hope. It is a small, flickering candle in a vast darkness. Exhale the despair. Meanwhile, Jerusalem remains vibrant, busy, and full of religious activities. The temple still functions. Sacrifices are offered daily. Solemn feasts continue. The people gather, lift their hands, offer prayers, and sing. To human eyes, everything seems to be in order. But as you breathe, ask for the eyes of God. See the illusion shattering. God declares, He is fed up with sacrifices, tired of offerings. Imagine the smell of burning fat becoming a stench because it lacks truth. The people fulfilled religious practices, but their hearts were light years away. Isaiah walked through the streets observing this. Feel the texture of the fine linen worn by the wealthy as they treat the weak with injustice. Inhale the smell of the marketplace, the spices, the animals, and the underlying rot of greed. How can you lift your hands to God if they are stained? Isaiah cries out. Look at the group leaving the temple. See their faces, annoyed, defensive. Who are you to judge us? They shout. Feel the heat of their anger. Isaiah does not raise his voice, but his response is a wall of firm light. I am not judging. I am repeating what God has already said. The people did not just err. They had become accustomed to it. Sin no longer caused discomfort. The conscience was hardened like a sun-baked brick. Religion had become a shield. Isaiah began to feel this weight deeply. At night in his house, the silence spoke louder than any crowd. Imagine the darkness of his room. Feel the cool night breeze coming through the window. His wife notices the exhaustion on his face. They are not listening, are they? She asks. Isaiah takes a few seconds before answering. They hear, but they do not want to change. Breathe in his sorrow. Let it sit in your stomach. She draws closer. And will you continue? He looks at her with firmness. I was not called to be accepted. I was called to be faithful. The spiritual environment was compromised. The most serious thing was the invisible distance between the people and God. It was the ability to keep living as if everything were fine when everything was broken. God asks, why will you continue to be punished since you continue in rebellion? It was as if the nation were wounded but refused to recognize its own condition. Inhale a sense of honesty. See where you too have refused to acknowledge your wounds. Isaiah understood that this would not be resolved with external adjustments. Exposure was necessary. In that setting of religious appearance, a truth began to rise. God was seeking a broken, sincere people, but Judah was still far from that. And it was in this environment of worship, without truth, that Isaiah began to stand as the voice of God, bringing a message that would prepare the way for an even deeper revelation, capable of reaching not only the people, but the prophet himself. Remain in this state of absolute presence. Feel the air entering your lungs now, as if it were the same breath of life that animated Isaiah's lungs thousands of years ago. Inhale deeply. Feel the freshness of an early morning in Jerusalem. Exhale slowly. Feel the weight of all your worries dissolving into the horizon of the Judean hills. The city remains full of movement, a human anthill of ambition and rights, but your heart no longer finds beauty in that scenery. You walk the streets with firm steps, but inside you carry a growing burden. Imagine the sound of your sandals striking the dry limestone. Feel the vibration of this walk in your own feet. What once seemed only like the errors of the people now begins to reveal itself as something deeper, more dangerous, and harder to change. Feel the atmosphere shift as the word of the Lord comes clearly upon your life. It is not a passing thought. It is a direct summons that vibrates in your soul. Breathe with this conviction. Inhale the clarity. Exhale the hesitation. You stop once near the city gate. People enter and leave, negotiate grain, discuss prices, laugh loudly. Everything seems normal under the scorching sun. but you feel the chill of spiritual death behind the smiles. Lord, why do the people not see? You murmur. Feel the movement of your lips, the dry taste of the dust. There is no audible response, but within you, the conviction grows. You were chosen to speak, not to agree. You were called to confront. Visualize now the scenery of the hills surrounding Jerusalem. Smell the earth being tilled and the morning dew on the leaves. God begins to speak through images that everyone understands, but few want to feel. You position yourself before a group of workers. There are no shouts. Begin speaking calmly, like someone telling an ancient story under the shadow of a fig tree. I will sing a song. You say, feel the curiosity of the people around you. Their silence is your canvas. It is the song of my beloved regarding his vineyard. Inhale the aroma of grapes ripening. Exhale the tension of the crowd. Imagine the care described in the book of Isaiah, chapter 5. Visualize the beloved preparing the soil. Feel the weight of the stones being removed manually. Feel the texture of the chosen vines being planted with affection. Imagine the construction of the watchtower, the physical effort of each stone placed. Feel the pride of a job well done. Nothing was lacking. A man in the middle of the crowd nods in approval. He did everything right. He comments. You confirm with a slight gesture, feeling the weight of the revelation that is to come. And did the vineyard produce well? Another asks. Feel your gaze turn serious, your chest tighten. He expected good grapes, but the vineyard produced wild grapes. Feel the uncomfortable silence that forms. The bitter taste of wild grapes seems to arise in your own mouth. How can that be? Someone asks. Take a step forward. Feel the heat of the earth beneath your feet. The vineyard is Judah. The people of Jerusalem are the chosen planting. Feel the people's breath hitch. God cared, protected, sustained. Inhale the gratitude. Exhale the recognition of the error. He expected justice, but found oppression. He expected righteousness, but heard cries of suffering. The words echo like a physical blow. Feel the pain of this divine heart that was betrayed by its own planting. A man, visibly annoyed, crosses his arms. Feel his resistance like a cold barrier. Are you saying we are that vineyard? You do not look away. Feel the strength that comes from a truth that is not yours. It is not I who says it. It is the Lord. The environment becomes heavy. The air feels denser. The problem is not a lack of care. It is rejection. Inhale the truth. Exhale the denial. What more could have been done for my vineyard that I have not done? You ask with the voice of God. No one answers. Feel the void of that lack of response. The Lord says He will take away the protection of the vineyard. Visualize the fence being torn down. Hear the sound of the wood snapping. Feel the vulnerability of being trampled. Where there was care, now thorns will grow. Feel the coarseness of the thorns in your mind. Are you saying God will abandon us? Someone asks with fear. Feel the tremor in their voice. You abandoned Him first. You reply with a profound sadness. Feel this sadness in your own stomach. The problem is not external. It is the root that is sick. As you walk back home, feel the ancient fatigue in your bones. The image of the vineyard is impossible to ignore. You look at the real plantations and see in them the metaphor for rebellion. Breathe deeply, inhale the patience of God, exhale the hardness of the human heart. At home, the prophetess notices your gaze. Today, he spoke like one who was betrayed. You tell her, feel the silence of your wife, the mutual understanding. God's pain has become your pain. The meditation ends now in this recognition. God's holiness is not just a concept, it is an investment of love that demands a response. Breathe into this truth. Feel your heart as a vineyard. What has it been producing for the beloved? Let this question illuminate your interior as you prepare for what is to come. Deepen your breathing now. Let your consciousness expand beyond the walls of your current space. Inhale the stillness of a city in mourning. Exhale the frantic need for worldly stability. The news begins to flow through the streets of Jerusalem like a heavy, cold wind that no one can outrun. It is the truth. King Uzziah is dead. Feel the emptiness in the air. For 52 years, this man was the floor beneath the nation's feet. Now, that floor has vanished. Imagine the sound of muffled weeping behind closed doors. Feel the collective shiver of a people who realized their security was mortal. In the year that King Uzziah died, repeat these words in your mind. Feel them as a milestone in your own journey. Inhale the scent of funeral incense. Exhale the illusion that anything on this earth is permanent. You walk through the city, and the silence is different now. It is a silence of insecurity. You see the palace, and for the first time in your life, the throne is empty. But as you breathe, notice a shift in the atmosphere. The physical world begins to blur at the edges. The heavy stone of the temple seems to vibrate with a frequency you have never felt before. You are being drawn into the holy place, not by your own feet, but by a sovereign pull. Step into the temple. Feel the sudden coolness of the massive stone walls. The air is thick, saturated with a presence that makes the hair on your arms stand up. Suddenly, the ceiling disappears. The walls expand into infinity. Inhale the awe. Exhale all your human pride. You are seeing the Lord. He is sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up. Visualize the scale of this. His train, the very hem of his robe, fills the entire temple. There is no room for anything else. There is no room for your ego, your plans, or your fears. Only him. Feel the weight of his glory, a weight that is both crushing and life-giving. Look upward. Above the throne stand the Seraphim. Each has 6 wings. With 2 they cover their faces, with 2 they cover their feet, and with 2 they fly. Even these burning, celestial beings cannot look directly at the purity before them. Feel the heat of their presence. Hear the sound of their voices, a sound that makes the foundations of the temple shake. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. Feel that word, holy, vibrating in your chest, in your throat, in the marrow of your bones. It is a holiness that is not just goodness, but a terrifying, beautiful, absolute purity that consumes everything false. The doorposts move. The temple is filled with smoke, a cloud of divine mystery. In this moment, you realize the truth. All the kings you trusted in are dust. All the strength you thought you had is a shadow. Inhale the majesty of the one who never dies. Exhale the frantic search for human approval. But in this light, something painful happens. You see yourself. You see your own lips, your own thoughts, your own compromises. The light is so bright that it exposes every dark corner of your soul. Woe is me, you cry out. Feel the desperation in your own voice, for I am undone. You are a man of unclean lips, living among a people of unclean lips. Inhale the terrifying honesty of this moment. Exhale the need to defend yourself. You are broken. You are silenced. You are at the end of your own holiness. And yet, do not pull away. Stay in this brokenness, for it is only when the earthly king dies and the prophet is undone that the true mission can begin. Breathe in the smoke of the temple. Stay here, at the foot of the throne, in the silence of your own surrender, waiting for the touch that changes everything. Stay in that posture of readiness, but feel the air around you change as you prepare to step from the glory of the temple back into the dust of the world. Inhale the lingering scent of holy incense. Exhale the comfort of the sanctuary. You have just uttered the most dangerous words a soul can say. Here am I, send me. Your lips still tingle from the heat of the coal, and your heart beats with a rhythm that is no longer your own. But listen, the voice of the Lord, which just offered forgiveness, now speaks the terms of your mission, and they are heavy. Go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not. Breathe into the weight of this paradox. Inhale the clarity of your calling. Exhale the human desire for visible success. You are being sent to a people who will listen but will not hear, who will look but will not see. Imagine walking out of the temple gates. Feel the sudden transition from the supernatural silence of the throne room to the chaotic noise of the Jerusalem marketplace. Smell the sweat of the crowds, the iron of the soldier's armor, and the heavy aroma of worldly greed. You open your mouth to speak the truth you just witnessed, but you see the faces of the people harden like sun-baked clay. Feel the vibration of your own voice as it meets a wall of indifference. Inhale a divine patience. Exhale the ego that demands to be understood. Your mission is to be a witness in the midst of a spiritual drought. God tells you to make the heart of this people fat and make their ears heavy. Feel the sorrow of this reality, that the very light you bring will be used by some to hide in deeper shadows. As you walk through the streets, feel the isolation. You are a man who has seen the King, walking among those who only see their coins and their pride. Inhale the loneliness of the prophet. Exhale the need for popular approval. Deep in your spirit, a cry begins to rise, born of love and exhaustion. It is the question that has echoed through every century of faith. Lord, how long? Adonai, Admati. Feel that question vibrating in your chest, in your throat. How long must I speak to the wind? How long will the darkness prevail? Inhale the longing for restoration. Exhale the weariness of the weight. The answer comes, and it is as firm as the stone beneath your feet, until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man. Feel the gravity of a judgment that must run its course so that a new foundation can be laid. But look closer at the ruins. God speaks of a tenth that remains, a holy seed within the stump of a fallen oak. Imagine a massive, ancient tree that has been cut down. Run your hand over the rough, dead bark of the stump, but as you breathe, feel the life still pulsing in the roots. Inhale the hope of the seed. Exhale the fear of the end. You are the guardian of that hidden life. Your words are the water for the remnant that will one day return. Breathe deeply now, accepting that your success is not measured by the crowd's applause, but by your unyielding yes in the face of the silence. Sinta a energia da perseverança fluindo por sua coluna. You are a servant of the eternal, anchored in the truth that even in the desolation, the Holy One is working. Stay in this state of quiet, iron-willed faithfulness. The road is hard, but your lips are clean, and your King is still on the throne. Stand now at the exit of the temple. Feel the transition as the celestial smoke begins to fade, and the dry, hot wind of Jerusalem hits your face once again. You have just said, "Here am I. Send me. I feel worry." Your lips still feel the lingering heat of the holy coal. Your heart is still pounding with the rhythm of the Seraphim's song. Inhale the lingering scent of glory. Exhale the comfort of the sanctuary. You are stepping back into a world that has not changed, even though you have been transformed. But listen, the voice of the Lord follows you into the sunlight. It gives you your first instructions. and they are not what you expected. Go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not. Feel the weight of those words settling on your shoulders. Inhale the confusion. Exhale the need for visible success. You are being sent to speak to ears that will stay closed, to eyes that will remain shut. You are being asked to be a messenger to a nation that will use your very words to harden their own hearts. Breathe into this difficult truth. Imagine walking through the marketplace again. You see the same faces, the greedy merchants, the indifferent priests, the distracted crowds. You open your lips to speak the words of the Holy One, but you see their eyes glaze over. Feel the frustration rising in your throat. You are pouring out a treasure, and they are treading it into the dust. Inhale a sense of divine patience. Exhale the ego that demands to be heard. The mission is not about the result. It is about the fidelity of the witness. Make the heart of this people fat and make their ears heavy. The voice continues. Feel the sorrow of a God who knows his love will be rejected. This is the hardest part of the calling, to be a sign of judgment simply by telling the truth. As you walk, feel the isolation. You are a man who has seen the King, living among people who only see their coins and their shadows. Inhale the loneliness of the prophet. Exhale the desire for popular approval. You are a citizen of another kingdom. Now, deep in your spirit, a question begins to ache. It is the same question Isaiah asked, Lord, how long? Adonai, Admati, feel this cry in your own chest. How long must I speak into the wind? How long must I watch those I love wander further into the dark? Inhale the longing for restoration. Exhale the weariness of the journey. The answer comes, and it is stark, until the cities are wasted and the land is utterly desolate. Feel the gravity of a judgment that must run its course before the new growth can begin. But look closer. In the midst of the vision of desolation, there is a promise of a holy seed. Imagine a great oak tree that has been felled, leaving only a stump in the dry earth. Sinta a aspereza da madeira cortada. But within that stump, there is life. The holy seed is there. Inhale the hope of the remnant. Exhale the fear of total destruction. Your mission is to preserve that seed. Your words are the water that will keep that hidden life from dying. Breathe deeply now. Find peace in the fact that God does not judge you by the number of people who repent, but by the courage of your yes. Sinta a força voltando para suas pernas. Even if the nation remains hard, your lips are clean. Even if the cities fall, the throne you saw remains high and lifted up. Inhale the sovereignty of God. Exhale the burden of the future. You are a servant of the eternal. Stay in this state of quiet readiness, knowing that even in the silence of a people who will not hear, the word of the Lord is accomplishing its secret work. Close your eyes and shift your focus. The atmosphere is no longer filled with the fragrance of the sanctuary. It is filled with the smell of dry earth and the metallic scent of sweat and iron. The year is 735 BC. News has reached Jerusalem that a massive alliance, Syria and Israel, is marching against Judah. Feel the vibration of a city in panic. The Bible says that the heart of King Ahaz and the heart of his people moved as the trees of the forest move with the wind. Imagine yourself standing in a thick forest during a violent storm. Feel the swaying of the branches, the creaking of the trunks, the sense that everything is about to break. Inhale that collective anxiety. Exhale the need to fix the situation with human hands. King Ahaz is at the end of the conduit of the upper pool. Visualize him inspecting the water supply. his hands trembling, his eyes darting toward the horizon. He is looking for survival in walls and water, but his soul is a desert. Now, step into the scene as Isaiah. You are walking toward the king, and you are not alone. You are holding the hand of your son, Shear Jashub. Feel the small, warm hand of the child in yours. His name, a remnant shall return, is a silent sermon walking beside the king's fear. Inhale the peace of the holy seed. Exhale the frantic energy of the palace. You stand before Ahaz. The wind blows his royal robes, but he looks small. Take heed and be quiet. Fear not, you say. Let those words resonate in your own throat. Be quiet. Feel the power of stillness in the face of a storm. You tell the king that these two attacking monarchs are nothing but smoking firebrands, logs that have already burned out, leaving only a puff of smoke. Inhale a sense of divine perspective. Exhale the intimidation of the enemy. It shall not stand, you declare, but you see the unbelief in the king's eyes. He is already planning to call on the brutal empire of Assyria for help. He is choosing a wolf to protect him from the dogs. If you will not believe, surely you shall not be established. Breathe into the gravity of that warning. To believe is to be firm. To fear is to dissolve. Then, in an act of staggering mercy, God offers a sign. Ask a sign of the Lord thy God. Ask it either in the depth or in the height above. Visualize the limitless power of the Creator. God is handing the king a blank check of divine confirmation. Inhale the magnitude of this grace. Exhale the pride that refuses to be helped. Ahaz refuses. I will not ask, neither will I tempt the Lord. It sounds like piety, but feel the coldness behind it. It is the mask of religiosity, hiding a heart of stone. He does not want a sign because a sign would demand obedience. He would rather have his fear and his political schemes. Feel the frustration rising in your spirit, the wearying of God. Inhale the patience of the Almighty. Exhale the sorrow of rejected love. But look, God will give a sign regardless of the king's unbelief, a sign that will bypass the palace and reach the ends of the earth. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel, God with us. Breathe in the name Emmanuel. Feel it as a shield around your heart. Even when the kings are faithless, even when the armies gather, even when the leaders choose the path of ruin, God is with us. Inhale the light of this promise. Exhale the darkness of the siege. You are standing by the water conduit, but you are drinking from a different well. Stay in this moment of contrast. The king trembling like a leaf, and the prophet standing like a mountain, anchored by a name that changes the destiny of the world. Breathe deeply into this moment. Transition from the dusty conduit where the king trembled to the quiet sanctuary of the prophet's study. The year is still one of crisis, but God's command is startlingly physical. Take thee a great roll and write in it with a man's pen. Imagine the weight of a large wooden tablet or a heavy scroll before you. Feel the texture of the stylus in your hand. Inhale the scent of fresh ink and parchment. Exhale the noise of the city's political debates. You are commanded to write 4 words in large bold letters. Maher Shalal Hashbaz. Feel the rhythm of the letters as you carve or write them. It is a name that tastes like urgency. Quick to the plunder, swift to the prey. Every stroke of your pen is a nail in the coffin of Judah's false security. Inhale the gravity of this public record. Exhale the need for a comfortable message. You call witnesses, faithful men, to watch you sign this decree. It is a legal document of heaven, stating that before a child can say, "My father," or "My mother," The riches of the enemies will be taken away. But then, the message turns inward into the most intimate space of your life. The prophetess conceives. Visualize the quiet months of waiting in your home. Feel the paradox. A new life growing in the womb while a nation prepares for death. Inhale the tenderness of a father's hope. Exhale the fear of the coming storm. When the boy is born, his first cry fills the room. It is a beautiful, fragile sound. But God says, call his name Maher Shalal Hashbaz. Every time you hold this child, every time you hear his mother, call him for a meal. The prophecy of judgment and speed echoes through the house. Breathe in the weight of this domestic sacrifice. Your family is no longer just a family. It is a living clock, ticking toward a divine appointment. For as much as this people refuseth the waters of Shiloh that go softly, stop and visualize this water. The Shiloh is a gentle, quiet stream that sustains Jerusalem. It represents the quiet, steady, often invisible provision of God. Inhale the coolness of the soft waters. Exhale the frantic desire for something louder and more impressive. The people have rejected the quiet stream. They want the great and many waters of the river, the Euphrates, the symbol of the Assyrian Empire. Imagine a massive, muddy, violent flood cresting over its banks. Feel the roar of the water, the cold spray on your face, the terror of a tide that cannot be stopped. Inhale the overwhelming power of the world. Exhale the regret of a nation that chose a flood over a fountain. God says the Assyrian flood will overflow. It will reach even to the neck. But in the midst of the rising tide, remember the name from the conduit. The land belongs to Emmanuel. Breathe in that name again. God with us, even when the water is at the neck, even when the flood covers the banks. The land is His. Inhale the safety of the divine presence. Exhale the panic of the drowning. You are standing in your home, holding a child named Plunder, but your eyes are fixed on the child named God with us. Stay in this space of contrast. Feel the gentle flowing of Shiloh in your spirit. Even as you hear the distant roar of the Assyrian army, you are being taught a profound wisdom, that the quietest waters of God are stronger than the loudest floods of men. Inhale the peace of the stream. Exhale the violence of the river. You are anchored. You are ready. Close your eyes and descend into a deeper state of inwardness. The atmosphere around you has grown thick and suffocating. Outside, the roar of the Assyrian flood is no longer a distant threat. It is a cold reality. The people of Jerusalem are no longer just afraid. They are desperate. Feel the frantic energy of a crowd that has lost its center. Inhale the scent of damp stone and the metallic tang of fear. Exhale the urge to follow the masses. God speaks to you now with a strong hand, a physical sensation of being grasped and pulled away from the path of the people. Feel that firm, divine grip on your shoulder. Say ye not, a confederacy. Inhale the independence of a soul bound to God. Exhale the temptation to join the political alliances of the day. Do not call holy what they call holy. Do not fear what they fear. Breathe into this profound shift. Sanctify the Lord of hosts Himself, and let Him be your fear, and let Him be your dread. Visualize the holiness of God once again, that blinding, beautiful fire from the temple. Inhale the awe of the Almighty. Exhale the puny fears of mortal kings. If you make Him your sanctuary, He becomes a place of absolute safety, a hidden room in the midst of a storm. Cinta a paz de ese refugio. But to those who reject Him, He becomes a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. Imagine a heavy, unyielding stone in the middle of a dark path. Feel the impact of those who trip and fall because they refused to see the light. Now, move into the quiet intimacy of your private circle. God commands, "Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples." Imagine a scroll being rolled tightly, tied with a cord, and dripped with hot wax. Feel the finality of that seal. Inhale the value of the hidden truth. Exhale the need for public validation. You are being called to wait. I will wait upon the Lord, that hideth his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look for him. Breathe in the patience of the desert. Exhale the restlessness of the world. Outside your door, the darkness is complete. The people are turning to wizards and mediums, seeking the muttering and peeping of the dead. Imagine the eerie, hollow sound of voices in a dark room, trying to find life in the grave. Sinta o calafrio dessa escuridão espiritual. Why should the living seek the dead? Inhale the sharp clarity of the word. Exhale the confusion of the occult. To the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Visualize the people wandering through the land, hardly bestead and hungry. Feel the gnawing ache of spiritual famine. They look upward, and they look to the earth, but they find only trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish. Imagine being surrounded by a thick, cold fog where you cannot see your own hand. Inhale the gravity of a life without God. Exhale the despair of the lost. But in this total darkness, you are standing with your children. Behold, I and the children whom the Lord hath given me are for signs and for wonders in Israel. Hold your sons close. Feel their heartbeat against your palms. They are living candles in the dimness of anguish. Inhale the quiet strength of the faithful remnant. Exhale the gloom of the city. You are the guardian of the sealed testimony. Stay in this stillness, anchored in the sanctuary of his presence, knowing that while the world stumbles in the dark, the dawn is already being prepared in the secret places of the Most High. Breathe deeply. Let the previous darkness remain as a backdrop, but do not let it touch you now. You are standing in the middle of a cold, sunless night in the northern lands, Zebulun and Naphtali. Feel the biting chill of the air. This is the shadow of death, a place where hope has been trampled by the boots of invading soldiers. Inhale the cold, sharp air. Exhale the heaviness of the gloom, but look toward the horizon. A flicker, then a glow, then a blinding, glorious dawn. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. Visualize this light as a warm, golden tide washing over the gray landscape. Feel the warmth hitting your face, melting the frost on your spirit. Inhale the radiance, exhale the shadows. You feel a sudden surge of joy, like the joy in harvest, or the shouting of soldiers dividing the spoil. Now, hear the sound of something breaking. Crack. It is the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder. Imagine a heavy wooden yoke being snapped in half by an invisible hand. Feel the weight suddenly lifted from your own neck. Breathe in the freedom. Exhale the years of slavery. The battle of the warrior, with its confused noise and garments rolled in blood, is over. Imagine those blood-stained uniforms being cast into a great fire. Feel the heat of the flames as they consume the memory of war. Inhale the peace, exhale the trauma. Why is this happening? Because of a birth. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. Visualize a small, fragile infant. Feel the incredible paradox. The vastness of the Almighty condensed into the heartbeat of a baby. Inhale the tenderness. Exhale the pride of power. But look at his shoulders. They are not small. They are wide enough to carry the government of all worlds. Now, let the fourfold name vibrate in the center of your chest. One by one, inhale, Wonderful Counselor. Feel the clarity of a wisdom that has no end. Exhale your confusion. Inhale, Mighty God. Feel the unshakable strength that created the stars. Exhale your weakness. Inhale, Everlasting Father. Feel the eternal protection of a love that never leaves. Exhale your loneliness. Inhale, Prince of Peace. Feel the stillness that settles over a stormy sea. Exhale your anxiety. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end. Imagine a kingdom growing like a forest, lush and green, spreading until it covers every dark valley of the earth. Sienta o frescor dessa paz. It is established with justice and righteousness from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. Inhale the certainty of God's passion. Exhale the doubt that it could ever be true. Stay in this light. Feel yourself bathed in the glow of the child king. The Assyrian flood is gone. The dimness of anguish is forgotten. There is only this name, this peace, and this eternal springtime. Breathe in the kingdom. Exhale the world. You are a subject of the Prince of Peace. Stay here in the warmth of the dawn, anchored in the promise that the light has finally, irrevocably come. Breathe. Transition your senses. The golden light of the child king remains a distant beacon, but for now, you are back in the dusty, pride-filled streets of Samaria and Jerusalem. Feel the vibration of a people who have survived a blow but learned nothing. Inhale the scent of fresh mortar and cut stone. Exhale the arrogance of self-sufficiency. Listen to the chatter of the leaders. They are looking at the ruins left by the enemy and saying, "The bricks are fallen down, but we will build with hewn stones. The sycamores are cut down, but we will change them into cedars." Feel the cold, hard ambition in their words. Imagine the sensation of running your hand over a rough, sun-baked brick, then over a smooth, expensive block of polished stone. Inhale the desire to rebuild. Exhale the refusal to repent. They think they can replace God's discipline with their own architecture. But as you breathe, feel a shadow falling over the construction site. For all this, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. Imagine a massive, divine hand hovering over the horizon. It is a hand that was meant to embrace, but because of rebellion, it remains poised to discipline. Inhale the solemnity of this moment. Exhale the flippancy of the world. The people do not turn to the one who strikes them. They do not seek the Lord of hosts. Visualize the internal rot. For the leaders of this people, cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. Feel the confusion of a society where truth has been replaced by flattery. Inhale a sense of discernment. Exhale the lies you have believed. Then see the fire. For wickedness burneth as the fire. It shall devour the briars and thorns. Imagine a wildfire starting in the dry brush of the soul, envy, greed, and malice, until it mounts up like the lifting up of smoke. Feel the heat of a society consuming itself. Breathe into the social collapse. People are snatching on the right hand and still hungry, eating on the left hand and not satisfied. Feel the gnawing ache of a hunger that things cannot fill. Brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor. Inhale the peace of the sanctuary. Exhale the violence of the streets. The pride that wanted to build with hewn stones has led to a house divided against itself. And yet, hear the refrain again. His hand is stretched out still. Stop, breathe, Look at that hand in your mind. To the proud, it is a hand of judgment. But to you, in this meditation, let it be a hand of invitation. Even in the midst of the storm, the hand is still stretched out. It hasn't pulled away. It is waiting for the moment of brokenness. Inhale the mercy that hides behind the discipline. Exhale the stubbornness of your own heart. Stay here in the tension. Feel the heat of the fire and the hardness of the stones. But keep your eyes on the hand. Ask for the wisdom to see the ruins in your own life, not as a reason to rebuild with your own strength, but as a place to finally kneel. Inhale the truth. Exhale the pride. You are learning the hardest lesson of the prophet, that God will allow our hewn stones to crumble until He becomes our only foundation.